What are the biggest financial mistakes that you can make that will cost you dearly in the future? I wish that somebody had made a video like this for me when I was younger, so I would have had some perspective. Now, when I was younger, I heard some things like don't get credit cards unless you have to. But other than that, I didn't have much financial literacy. So let me make a video for you young people, for you people recovering your credit, for you people that are, and I'm saying you people, for you people that are trying to figure out, if you had a conversation with your younger self, what you would say to them as far as how they can protect their finances. So the very first one that I'd go over is buying a new car when your current car is still working. Even if it's not sexy, if the thing is still driving, it still performs well, it's still doing what it needs to do, it gets you from point A to point B. This is a big game changer. Not having to have a car payment and having a paid off car is a huge way. Anywhere from $200 to, I hope not for most people, $700+ a month in car payment is a huge savings. If you want an additional financial tip on this, one that really worked well for me is that once you have paid off your car, guys, take the exact amount of payment that you were putting. So let's say your car payment is $300 a month. Open a savings account tied to your main checking account, and on the same date, the next month, once your car payment is over, so let's say your car payment was today, it's 8/6. So you paid off your last payment today. When 9/6 comes, take the exact $300 payment that you would have made and put it into a savings account, because you're used to having that money be gone every month. Then when you go to replace the car, you already have an amount in that account that you can start with to be able to make a large down payment or be able to pay cash for your next car. It works great. It's not my tip. It's a tip that I learned from a mentor about 10 years ago, and it works really well. Second thing is buying a brand new car versus slightly used. Now, this is going to depend a little bit on price and interest rates, because I know it's kind of wonky right now how buying and selling cars has been since the pandemic. But what I will tell you is, if you read a book on millionaires, one of the most common practices of millionaires is, and this is self-made millionaires, not people that inherit money, is that they don't buy new cars. They buy low mileage, slightly used cars. And this will give you a leg up because the depreciation has been paid by the previous owner. You're getting a lower price with still low miles and probably just as good a warranty, and driving it off the lot and not having to pay the depreciation on the car. Next thing is taking high interest loans, and this is going to feed into the couple of the other ones. So unless there is some catastrophic event in your life that happens where you need emergency money, you need to get the lowest possible interest on it that you possibly can in order to take the money that you have to pay whatever emergency thing there is. And unless it's an absolute emergency, never take a high interest loan on anything, because just being able to get out from under that when that interest starts to tick, it's a really hard thing to get out from under. Some people never get out from under it. Ask the people that are paying still student loans 30 or 40 years later, because the interest they can't pay above the amount they need to be able to get rid of it with the interest. Next thing is credit cards. And this feeds into the third one, is taking high interest loans. So if you don't have fantastic credit, meaning over 800, then you're going to be paying a very high interest rate on your credit cards. And so you can use credit cards very purposefully. I did this for over 2 years to improve my credit drastically. You can use credit cards to be able to create credit. What I did is, when I had poor credit and I needed to improve it, is over the course of 2 years, I was able to bump my credit score more than 300 points with the following method. I got 3 credit cards. They were all low balance because I had poor credit at the time, and I was able to put my gas on one, and it takes about 24 hours for it to hit on your phone where you can see it, where you can actually make the payment. So I would put the gas on there whenever I got gas, and then the next day when it stayed off, boom, I paid off. I didn't even wait for the statement date. I paid it off immediately. And then whenever I would get lunch out at work, I would put it on the next card, and then the next day I paid it off. And then the next one was groceries on the third one. And every time I got groceries, the next day I paid it off. And so you're just constantly getting this thing of showing credit usage and you being able to make the payments on time, and that's all great. Be really cognizant of when your statement date is. If your statement date today is the 6th, if there's going to be your statement date on the 7th and you put something on today, you're not going to be able to pay it off before that statement date. It's just going to have a balance, but it can affect credit scores. Really a wonky thing. The more you study into it, you learn about it. But get credit cards that you can pay off right away, and don't put anything on a credit card that you can't pay off right away unless it's a dire emergency. Next thing is overspending on your home or rent. Now, this is one that's really hard for people to accept. It's the same thing with a car when you're trying to tell yourself what car you need. It's an emotional purchase. So when you're looking at your home or rent, if you're already in a place and the place is good enough and you want to move to some fancier place, because you've had income creep, you got a raise, you got a new promotion at work, you got more money coming in, you have another person living with you now, the temptation for us as human beings is to do what? The temptation is to spend more and to move into a nicer and bigger place. You'd be much wiser and in a much better financial position if you first took the extra money. Let's say you're in a place for $2,000 a month and you want to move into a place that's $3,000 a month, taking that $1,000 extra dollars, sliding it into another account for 6 months and seeing how it feels. If you can live with that extra $1,000 a month and it's on the side, now you can use it to be able to move into the new place and have some more money. So it's a good strategy. If you are buying a home, an apartment, a condo, a double wide, whatever you happen to be buying in your life, you don't want to be house poor. House poor refers to the fact that you spent so much on your home or rent that you got into that you don't have money for anything else. Then if anything happens, your car breaks down on the way to work today, any person in your family has a medical emergency, whatever it happens to be, your kids need something, expensive for school or sports, you're not going to have any money to give anybody. So don't put yourself up to a house poor status. Next thing is not having 3 months of savings. Now, this is really hard for people in America today. So if you ask yourself, most people don't have any savings. So if you ask yourself really what you were able to put aside if you just saved it every month, maybe it's $25 a month, maybe it's 50, 100, 200, 1,000, whatever it happens to be. If you can start to put something aside, think about how our economy is right now. And I will tell you, as somebody in HR that is a hiring manager, if you don't have 3 months of income set aside in a separate emergency savings account, and by the way, don't tell anyone that you have it. Don't tell your friends, don't tell your family, don't tell a significant other unless you're in a long-term committed relationship or marriage. The purpose of this is not other people's money, and people just hearing you have money, they'll come for it. So the point of this is that this is your oh crap money. And having that set aside, ask yourself the following question and be honest with yourself. If you lost your job today unexpectedly, you went into work today and you got laid off. They laid off 100 people at your job and you're one of them. How long are you able to survive? And unemployment is peanuts. So how long are you able to survive on what is currently in your checking account? For most people, more than a month, they're gonna have a very serious problem. Don't do this to yourself. Start to set money aside now and don't touch it. Stop living above your means. Okay, I'm gonna pull myself down to see the last two. Only having one source of income. Now I'll tell you this is the easiest economy ever in the history of the world to have additional sources of income. Anybody can drive for Uber or Lyft. Anybody can do pet sitting, dog walking. Anybody can make money on social media. You can do drop shipping stores. You can make minute plus long videos on all the apps to be able to get extra income. People go live and do their makeup every morning or cook their breakfast or anything else. There is a ton of extra ways right now that are simple to make an additional source of income. You don't want to just have one. And the last thing is, here we go, not saving for things in advance. This is one of the hardest ones for people because people don't want to take that money, like we talked about in the very first one, about taking the extra money you're not spending on your car payment, putting it in a separate account. Then when you go for your new car, you just pay cash. People don't want to save for things in advance of it. But if you don't have a payment for something, take extra money, put it towards what you want. And a great way to have financial literacy is to be able to sit down and write out your financial goals for the next 5 years. What are my financial goals? I want to buy a house. I want to pay off this credit card. I want to pay off this student loan. Whatever it happens to be in your life, and I know everybody's struggling. The inflation is really high right now. Jobs market is really tough right now. I'm aware of all this stuff, guys. I make videos on it every single day. But the point that I'm trying to relay to you is that if you don't save for things in advance, you'll always have to be borrowing other people's money to be able to pay them interest just for the right to have things that you had the money for anyway if you save it in advance, and it's hard. The last thing, and I want to just include it, it's not a bullet here, but it's just something that I want to share that has been incredibly useful to me, and it's not mine, it's an old Dave Ramsey tool, and I don't even know if it's his, if he got it from somebody else, is the debt snowball. And the debt snowball for anybody is to write out every single debt that you have and to put the smallest debt, to take that smallest debt, whatever it happens to be, and put it on top. Let's say it's a $100 debt, all the way down to maybe you've got a 50, 70, $300,000 debt, your house, whatever it is. Take all your debts and list them from smallest to largest. Now, here's the important thing that you have to do. When you sit down and you write out your minimum payments for every single debt that you have for that month, any extra money that you have that month that you can use, instead of spreading it out to pay a little more here and a little more here and a little more here, we're going to attack each debt individually, meaning that you're going to go to number one and you're going to use all that extra money to get rid of it. As soon as you cross it out, you'll find out that the list just keeps cycling off and you have fewer and fewer debts as you go. And then you get down to the point where you're like, man, I only got my one big debt off like a year or two. It's amazing how fast it works. But otherwise, you'll always be taking little extra chunks of things and paying them on all these different debts, and you'll never get out from under it. So list your debts smallest to largest. Any extra money that month goes to paying off the smallest debt first. Cross it off, then it's not on the list. Then you do it again. Any extra money goes to this one, and you'll see they just start to disappear as time goes on. It's, again, it's not a sexy thing. It's not a shiny thing that works, but it is a fantastic tool for being able to get rid of debt. I really hope all these list of big financial mistakes help someone, whether you're young and you're trying to, be financially successful for the first time, or whether you've made mistakes like me and everybody else in your life learning about finances. This is the list that I wish somebody had given me when I was young. So if you've got other great financial tips, please put them down below so we can all learn from each other. And I hope this was useful to you guys. I'll see you in the next one.